So, welcome back to another one of our very short introduction videos to a particular thing in C#, with today being arrays. What I need you to do before you start then is open a new project, a console application that's C#, and then give it a sensible name. For me, I called it array example. Now you should be looking at this. And remember, what we do today happens in static void main. Right, so we'll jump straight in with what's an array. So an array is basically a data structure. It's for working with values and it's for storing values of the same data type under one identifier. So unlike our usual variables, such as the one we use, which was age, which could only store one value at a time, an array can store several different values of the same data type though at any one time. So if you make a string array, it can hold, a load of sentences or a load of separate words. If you make an integer array, it can store a load of different numbers. All right. So what we'll do then, we'll jump straight in and we'll just make an example. So previously, if we want to store, let's say we want to store 3 different numbers, we'd have declared, 3 different numbers with 3 different identifiers. The identifiers being this part here. Okay. So int, then number 2 for the identifier, then the number 2, int, number 3, and then number 3 for the identifier. And yeah, this will work. And if we were thinking about it and we planned it out properly, we could probably do our full program storing lots of different numbers in lots of different variables, but it's more time consuming, it's harder to control, it's not as neat, it's very messy. Okay? What we can do then, instead of this, is we can declare an array. And we're going to do today, we're going to do one string array and one integer array, just so you see them both. So first we'll do the integer array. So we start off with our data type, which is int. You do 2 square brackets to basically simplify it's going to be an array, and we give it its identifier, so we'll call it numbers. But you don't end here, because arrays technically we're going to create an object here, which is something we'll talk about in a later episode. We need to do equals new int square braces. In the last set of square braces, this is where we set the size of the array. So imagine an array is actually a load of sets of columns. So how many columns do we want? So let's just say we want to store 3. Okay. So this is the size of the array. So what we can do, one thing to note though, arrays actually start at 0. What we can do now is we can go down below and we can start populating this array with several different numbers. And to do that, we do it very similar to what we would have done a variable. We give the identifier, we call for the identifier, but we start these square brackets, and inside them we put in the index number, which is what it's called, and that's basically which of the columns, so to speak, that it's going to stay in. So we'll start off with 0 equals 1, and then we'll do numbers 1, I can't type, equals 2. And then we'll do numbers 1 equals 2. So remember, we've started at 0 though, and we'll do numbers, we'll just do these for now, 2 equals 3. Alright, so we'll just do that for now. So now we've populated that array now contains those numbers. So what we'll do, we'll call them. Okay, we'll do console.writeLine, and then in our brackets we're going to put numbers square bracket 0 for our index, and we'll do that again. Console.writeLine numbers, and this time we're going to put the number 1, so the index of 1, and then we'll do our last one, console.writeLine numbers square brackets 2. Alright, so in theory, actually, I want to do console.readline, or my window just shut. Console.readKey, sorry. Right, so in theory now I should run this program and it should say 1, 2, 3 in order. So we'll do Control F5, and there it is. 1, 2, 3, which are those values there that we set. We could have called them in a different order. You can call them however you want. So we could have called 2 twice and then 1, and it would just pull those numbers out whenever we wanted them. Okay? Right. So what I will show you though, instead of doing this, if we know the numbers from the very start and we don't get them from elsewhere, we can actually populate the array like this. So 1, 2, 3. Okay? So what we've done there is before the semicolon, which ends the statement, we've opened some curly braces and we've just put in 1, 2, 3. Now these could have been any numbers, 78, 116, why not? They don't have to be in numerical order, but the order you put them in is the order they will be put in that array. So if we run this array again, Control F5, there you go. You can see we've called number 1, which is this slot here, because remember, the index, the first one, is actually 0. So we've called number 1, and then we called number 2 twice, 78, 78. Okay, so just to get this back to normal, we'll do 0, 1, 2. And what we're also going to do now then, so now that we've declared a integer array and we've populated it, we'll create a string array. Pretty much identical, except we change our data type to string. Okay, so string, square brackets, we'll call this words equals new string, because that's the data type. Again, we'll just put the number 3. And like before, we can either declare them in curly braces here, and remember to put quotes because it's a string, so we'll put, you know, Tom test, oops, comma, word. Okay, so we put our 3 words in, and then we'll go to our console, dot write line, and then we'll call words square bracket 0 console, oops, dot write line. I'm just going to call words square bracket 2, why not? So I'll jump number 1. Okay, so I could have called them all, but just for the sake of keeping this short, we'll call less. Control F5, and there you go. So we've now populated that array with those 3 words in that order, and then we called whichever one was in index 0 and the one that was in index 2, which is Tom and word. Okay, and we've used them. Right, so relatively straightforward, relatively simple. Just to show you the other way again, we could have done words square bracket 0 equals test words square bracket 2. I'm going to jump 1 because I didn't use it in the console. We'll just put words. Okay, Control F5, and there you go, same result. Okay, so we have now very quickly, in less than 10 minutes, looked at arrays at a very basic level. We know now that to declare them, we need to put the data type, the identifier, so whatever word we want to call it, and then we must put equals new int and then the size of the array. This is because we're creating an object, and we're going to talk about that in one of the intermediate videos, so try and bear that in mind, that that's an object, and that when we start using that word and throwing it about, this is one of the examples we can use. We've then populated the array either through this method or through this method, and then we've called them in console write line. Obviously that was just a quick introduction. I hope that's helped and shed some light on that a little bit for you, so you now know a little bit about arrays, and I would like you to start messing about with them, play about with them, try a few different data types, make them bigger, add more values, you know, play about with it, mess around. And until the next video then, thank you very much.